Hey everyone, welcome back. This should be a simple video, however, it became a lot more complicated. Fret not, I'm here to show you today on all things Catabolyst Augment from the most recent Nightwave season. Why is this video longer than expected for a single mod showcase for a single weapon? Well, DE added some hidden mechanics to curb the power creep on this weapon, which makes it annoying to use. However, the way to get around another pre-existing anti-power creep mechanic on this weapon also gets around the new anti-power creep mechanic they added. And yes, this feature has no documentation in patch notes anywhere. Also, this weapon has bugs, which you will need to be aware of to get the most out of the weapon, so let's dive right in. What is Catabolyst? This is both a beam weapon and an AoE weapon. However, the AoE is tied to your reload button, and reloading obviously throws away the entire magazine. Luckily, the AoE is much stronger on an empty magazine, so there is no reason to ever reload on a partial reload. You throw a grenade, and it explodes. Simple. The empty reload does 10 times more raw damage than a partial reload and has much higher crit and status as well, basically resulting in nearly 20 times higher damage overall and those beautiful red crits you love. Okay, but what about the bugs? Well, first of all, the grenade does not benefit from primed fulmination for unknown reasons. That one is pretty simple. Second of all, the grenade ignores multi-shot. If you want to build for the beam, you need to use multi-shot, since multi-shot is super duper OP on beams for dot builds, less so for raw damage, but in general, since galvanized diffusion gives so much multi-shot, you're absolutely going to use it for a standard beam setup that occasionally throws the grenade. If you're instead using a grenade spam build that almost never actually shoots the beam for DPS, then all your damage comes from your boomstick, and thus obviously you're not going to use multi-shot. Third of all, about half a year ago, DE pushed a patch that prevented punch through from working on AoE weapons. This prevented them from pointlessly passing through enemies and exploding on the back wall. For example, my old Stalta gas build here used punch through to spin circles through enemies with Zada's Whisper bullet attractors to inflict massive gas dots since it has multiplicative gun CO. It can't do that anymore. Now, it always gets stuck in the first enemy even with punch through. But generally, this was more helpful for stopping stuff like Brahma arrows from piercing without exploding if you ran punch through. However, certain other weapons got hit a lot worse, and Catabolyst is one of them. This is considered an AoE weapon in DE's eyes for however it is coded, and the last time I showcased Catabolyst years ago, punch through would make the grenade fly harmlessly through enemies and clip out the walls and floor of the map without exploding. Now, it always explodes on enemies and floors even with punch through. However, this screwed over the beam mode. Now it lost its 0.9 punch through stat. It's, well, as you can see, literally gone from the arsenal, and not only that, but modding punch through on this weapon does nothing for the beam. You cannot hit multiple enemies at once shooting through a crowd with the beam. This severely limits the beam's KPM potential for modes like survival. I honestly don't expect DE to remember to fix this, but this is a big issue for Catabolyst currently. Okay, so how about funny new features? Remember how I said the empty reload does 10 times more damage than the partial reload? You probably thought you could be funny and reload cancel this weapon after the grenade comes out. Well, if the grenade reload cancels and stays on 0 ammo after the throw, then the next time you throw it, it uses partial reload stats even if ammo is 0. That's DE's anti-power creep that always existed on this weapon since release. However, sometime in the past year, they added another much more annoying feature. This weapon only reloads when you manually press reload. However, as soon as you reach 0 ammo left in the magazine, an invisible timer now starts that is equal to the reload time of the weapon. For example, Catabolyst has a base reload time of 1.7 seconds. If you have not manually thrown the grenade by the 1.7 seconds mark, the next time you press reload, it will instantly fill your magazine to max with 0 animations, but also skipping the grenade throw completely, screwing you out of and losing your grenade DPS. Because the grenade throw happens partway through the reload animation, this means if you throw the reload too late, say after 1.5 seconds, then the reload still won't complete and the 1.7 seconds will pass by, with the auto reload finishing before the grenade leaves your hand. This was DE's new way to force people to stop camping on 0 ammo in your magazine always. In reality, I will show you how to get around this for a grenade build, and it only becomes extremely annoying as a feature on a beam focus build due to random reload animations and other bugs. Okay, so how do we get around the partial reload at 0 ammo feature that DE added? This is the job of the Synth set. This even works if you don't put Synth mods on your companion, because, well, guess what? Synth Charge works on the grenade throw and multiplies its total damage on the AoE by 3, still, just like several years ago. This means you use one Synth mod directly on Catabolyst itself if you want to focus on a grenade build. Synth set also has a set bonus that holster reloads the weapon for you at a % max rate per second. Remember how I said that staying on 0 ammo repeatedly causes the grenade to use partial reload stats instead? If you swing your melee immediately after you throw your grenade, it will cancel the reload and stay at 0 ammo. But now, since your melee is out, Synth set will start holster reloading your Catabolyst. Make sure this is not a dual wielding melee, otherwise it will not work. So long as it regenerates at least 1 ammo, then the next time you pull it out to shoot, which can be literally half a second later, it will no longer use the partial reload stats at 0 ammo when you drain it back. This lets you do a damage loop of throw plus melee, and then find a new target and shoot plus throw plus melee ad infinitum. This both bypasses the 0 ammo anti-camping mechanic and also bypasses the auto reload timer that starts at 0 in the magazine, since both of these are reset when the magazine rises to at least 1. The bugs earlier also lead to some unusual modding decisions, which I will describe next. Do note current shown builds are for current game state of this video with existing bugs. Suggestions are based on what to slot if X bug is fixed for Y mechanic. Let's look at a beam focus build first. There are two ways to do this. You either build viral, since Catabolyst is already innate corrosive, letting you buff your damage much further on top of partial armor strip and bonus damage against ferrite armor, or you go viral heats corrosive. This triple element heat is viable because Catabolyst is a beam and thus double dips multi-shot for dots sourced naturally. We reached 3.3 multi-shot with galvanized multi-shot, and double dipping this makes heat procs deal 10.9 times more damage. And of course, dots also double dipped Banes, meaning this 10.9 will get multiplied by another 2.4 on a primed Bane for 26.2 times scaling. Now, if you ran heat as well, then the mod to drop will be galvanized crosshairs. I would recommend an ammo mutation, though higher rank than this here, since Catabolysts chews through ammo pretty quickly. Now, let's talk about what to do if the punch-through bug is fixed. This would mean we want to slot Seeker again to maximize KPM against crowds. On just corrosive viral builds, you would replace Gun CO with Seeker. If you run corrosive viral and heat, then you replace galvanized crosshairs for Seeker. Now, if you're bringing Nourish to get corrosive viral and heat, then instead you can drop both viral mods for primed heat and Seeker. Let's look at that grenade build instead. This setup isn't too different since, well, we also wouldn't want Seeker on a grenade build. Now, not now or after punch through is fixed. Note that reload time determines the grenade throw window as mentioned earlier. If you didn't get that, please do go look at the timestamp for the reload grenade timer section. It's extremely important for grenade builds. This means that while Merciless is easier to stack than Flare, it will also grant you a shorter grace period to launch the grenade. Multi-shot doesn't affect the grenade. However, Synth Charge does multiply its final damage by 3, so we trade out 3.3 multi-shot for 3 times final damage, and, well, that's nearly even. Gun CO doesn't affect the AoE, which makes up over 90% of the grenade's damage, therefore we swap it for Tainted Clip. Now, this is a flex slot for comfortable quality of life, as it allows for more magazine if need be to kill stuff, but more importantly, slows our reload down to 2.4 seconds with Cascadia Flare, or 1.7 seconds again if you use Merciless. This means a bigger leeway to throw the grenade before it times out because of that new feature that DE added. We still stay on viral damage to nuke health, innate corrosive for armor, and primed heat to charge for light crowd control and residual dots. Heat is also required if you want to use Cascadia Flare instead of Merciless. There honestly aren't that many other mons to use besides maybe Hornet Strike, since there isn't that good synergy on the AoE, so using 3 elementals for a grenade build is perfectly fine. Mutation is optional on the setup, since we will be using the Synth holsters tech to spam empty reload grenades. We use very little actual ammo, meaning you are free to use what you wish in this slot. Now, how to use the Synth holster tech? Throw grenade at 0 ammo. As soon as your grenade throws, swing melee. After a second, ADS to pull Catabolyst back out and it'll have roughly 2 to 5 ammo. Now, when you find another group, shoot out the 2 to 5 ammo and throw the grenade again. Then, melee again immediately and ADS after 1 second for 2 to 5 ammo again. As you get faster at this, you won't need to ADS anymore, since you can shoot directly out of melee after a second to burn your 2 to 5 ammo to prep your next grenade throw immediately. You basically just walk around chucking nukes every 4 to 5 seconds for as long as you want, dealing tens to hundreds of millions of damage, and well, honestly, I don't even know what the crit tier is. Just do know that flat crits like Arcane Avenger has wacky crit scaling and applies multiple times to the grenade. Takes a bit of practice to get used to this rotation though. But for me, I did use a Combat Discipline Arcane Avenger setup on this particular Oberon build. Now, if you're wondering on how I was able to tank all of this damage, I can also direct you to my Oberon tanking build for Steel Bath at the top right. Also, this setup works wonders with Nautilus grouping builds, since the grenade has a fixed 5-meter radius that is unaffected by primed fulmination. It also only has 50% damage fall off at the edge, so even loose grouping works quite well. Cheers. If this is your first time watching, feel free to leave a like or better yet subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. 79.5% of you are not subscribed. I'm trying my best to get you new information out always, as soon as possible, like I've done with the Companion, Rework, and Dagath update. Stick around if you want to see interesting memes and builds on a nearly daily basis. You don't want to miss out on any of that, do you? That'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching and see you all next time.